Hi there, I'm Cameron, and I don't just read comics, I love them. But today isn't about comic books, it's about movies. Every year, my friend Hannah and I attempt to watch the Oscar Best Picture nominations, and every year she watches all of them, while I can't always make it through the list. So now that I have this platform, and it's Oscar Sunday, we wanted to offer you a super special annual episode of Cameron Reads Comics where Hannah ranks all of the Best Picture nominations, and I help. The Best Picture nominations include The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, The Trial of the Chicago 7, Promising Young Woman, and Sound of Metal. Hannah is going to rank them, and I'm going to help. Remember to go follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Cameron Reads Comics, and make sure to clobber the like and subscribe buttons, as well as leave me a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Alrighty, Hannah. Welcome back to Cameron Reads
Hi.
Comics. This is actually not quite a Cameron Reads Comics episode because
It's kind of not at all.
Not at all, but it is a CRC annual because we are students of pop culture, and you, along with me, well, no, just you. So we always talked about this this is an episode I always wanted to do for the podcast if I ever had a podcast, and so now I have my platform, and
Here we are.
This is how I want to use it. So deal with that, everyone. But yeah, there's also going to be a very fluid, loose episode. I really don't have any questions, but today we are just going to be going over the Oscar Best Picture nominations. I had attempted to watch all of them, and I just fell incredibly short.
This podcast is really just about me.
Today, yeah, so literally today's episode, this annual of Cameron Reads Comics, is actually called Hannah Watches the Best Picture nominations and ranks them.
I hope people like hearing me because it's going to be a lot of me.
It's going to be you explaining to me your ranking, and then I can chime in because I saw 5 out of the 8. So
yeah, you did well.
You know, I tried my best, but then honestly,
Did you try your best?
I did. I don't know.
Okay.
Because I don't want to, it's hard.
It's hard.
The hardest part of this podcast, I've realized in my experience, is just like forcing myself to watch things that may or read something that I don't. If I'm not in the right mindset, I don't want to participate in the media if I am not in the right mindset, because I want to do a service to these things. And so I feel like this episode I wasn't going to be able to do the service, and especially with like, you know, at the time of this recording, I am recording weekly on top of that, doing Invincible reviews and Falcon Winter Soldier reviews. So I'm like, there's so much content. I haven't even been able to watch Game of Thrones, which has been my new thing right now.
Yeah. In your defense, it's not like you had nothing to do but watch these movies for this episode. Like we've recorded twice in the last. Yeah. This is our third time in the last 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And that's just me alone. That's not even on top of all your Falcon and Winter Soldier and then all the other ones as well.
Yeah, so I've been very busy lately, but like that's not to say I didn't try, or like also too, and Hannah and I actually got in an argument about this, but I'm like, I didn't think that this year's movies were that great, and Hannah's like, you didn't even see any of them, and I'm like, whoa. But I think compared to last year's slate, which was way more up our alley, which I feel like
we agree on that.
Yeah, if that had been our episode, we both would have said that Jojo Rabbit was number 1.
Yep.
Did any other movies come out?
Which Jojo Rabbit was on the bottom side of most lists, and most podcasts that I listened to and like lists that I read of like predictions and like people ranking it, Jojo was always at the end, and I was like always so mind blown by that, because as we've said, I mean, I think I've said it on the podcast before that I don't usually put new releases in my like favorite movies category.
I thought you meant for the Best Picture noms.
No, just like in my movie opinion in life, I don't normally put super new ones. I always end up liking something older or like more classic better. But JoJo was like right to the top, like favorite movie of all. Like I was so obsessed with it. I watched it like 8 times.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's only been out for like
Yeah, honestly,
like 2
though,
years.
rewatchability is always a factor, but these are, I guess,
Most of these I would say are not super rewatchable from this year's.
yeah, exactly. I can
In my
only,
opinion.
I can only think of one that is my number one, and it is
Yeah.
rewatchable. But anyways, okay, so let's get the ball going. Let's give the people what they want. So, okay, Hannah, what is your, and if, whether or not I've seen it, I will contribute. And also, again, for the fans, these are not like what we think are the best. These are our subjective. You know, what I mean, these are our subjective.
I really actually don't know what I think is going to win. I think obviously a lot of the times you can go off of like the Golden Globes and like the SAGs and like that kind of thing to like project what you think. Like, so Nomadland would probably be most people's front runner because it did so well.
Really?
Nomadland's not very high on my personal list.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll go through it, and again, it's subjective. It's just what we liked the most, which is us doing that. This is actually, Hannah, before we get into that, because this, I told you, it's going to be a fluid episode.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this? How long? Because you have been doing this at least.
Trying to watch all the best pictures.
Yeah, it's like I feel like it's been a staple at least for the last 4 years minimum.
Yeah. I think I started trying to do it like 5 years ago, but I didn't. The first like 2 years I didn't get through. I think there was always like one that I really just didn't want. Like you said, I just never wanted to see it, and so I didn't ever go to the theaters. And then like 4 or 5 years ago was when I started realizing that I really like going to the movie theaters by myself, and that was when it started getting like really easy for me to see them all, because I was like I loved like leaving work and not telling anybody that I was like done with work, and I would go to a movie instead of coming home. And then I would come home and be like, oh, I just watched Three Billboards was like one of the first ones I was like, I'm gonna go see that by myself.
Honestly,
and it was great.
R.I.P. to Movie Pass, because
that helped me out so much.
And it's, oh my gosh, when I think when the world opens back up, like I'm gonna incredibly, and maybe if the podcast or something ever monetizes and I can make it a write-off, because if I can, I would gladly go get the AMC stubs, even like if AMC is still a thing. But like,
yeah, because I'm still like on their A-list. Like I'm still a member of the AMC ones.
Yeah.
And I tried to go see The Father in theaters like all last week, but they were doing like 1:00 showtimes. And I was like, why? And Monday through Friday. I was like, okay, well, I can't ever do those ones. Anyways, the Oscars themselves have been like a staple holiday in my family growing up since I was a kid. Like we always like, there's all your holidays, and then there was Oscar Sunday, and it was like my aunt and uncle, like we had like family that lived around the block from us, and we would switch off every other year going to somebody's house, and it was always a themed dinner. Like, okay, tonight we're doing like Mexican food, and everybody would bring this. It would be a whole style of like Mexican food's the theme for the night, and then like
for the Oscars,
yeah, and then the next year it was Greek food, and then the next year it was like Chinese food, and then the next it was like it was weird, and we would do the ballots. And then in high school, I started like, this is so embarrassing. I wore like my prom dress one time because I was on the red carpet.
Oh my god!
But then I'm pretty sure I had like slippers on because I just wanted to be comfy while I was watching it.
Classic.
I don't know. So I love the Oscars. So that's why when you guys were like hating on it yesterday, I was like getting defensive, and then I was like, whatever. I get that. It doesn't hold like the sentimental value, because now that family that I used to watch it with, they live in Tennessee, so I always think of them, and I like call my aunt on Oscar Sunday, and I'm always
equally as important. Just kidding. Well, it depends on.
And like we talk about the Oscars and the movies and stuff, so like it's a big like family thing for me, which is why I like it so much. And then I started realizing like, well, I don't like watching them if I can't give like an honest opinion during Best Picture. Like when a movie would win and I hadn't seen it, it's like not that fun. It's like,
you're not invested.
I don't know that means anything to me. So then I was like, I'm just gonna see them all, and that's how it started.
Okay. Well, I just always think that's so interesting. That's super neat to just like watch that, because it's always fun to hear your predictions. And like I remember I don't think I've ever made it. So this me not making it in award season, because when you said you were doing that, I'm like, oh yeah, I like movies. I'm a film guy. Let me go check it out. And so I remember you doing that, and I'm like, I never have made it to the end of doing any of them. So
I didn't make it last year because I didn't watch The Irishman,
which is so funny. Like
it's the only one I didn't watch,
and that one's on Netflix. But
I know, but I was like, I can't do 3 hours. I just like couldn't see it just never. I don't know. I wish I had, but I also didn't really think it was going to win. So I was like, I'm probably not going to miss that one.
It's crazy. It's insane, but I don't know. Like, anyways, let's get into this year.
Sorry.
So again, this is not a new revelation for me not to be able to see them all because I've never always been able to see them all. But that being said, I did watch some. If they were accessible to me and I didn't have to pay a buttload of money for them, I watched them. So Hannah, what is your number 8?
All right. Well, starting out with number 8 is one you have seen.
Okay.
Mank.
That's no surprise to me. As soon as she told me she didn't like it, and wait, and the fans know. Hannah, do you know who that's directed by?
I do. It's David Fincher. So it really it's full circle with us
it
here.
It culminates.
It does. But it was so unlike a David Fincher film that I had.
Yeah.
What I'm more familiar with him, like what his style typically is, and I don't know. I thought I was gonna love it actually. Like
really?
I was like, oh, it's. I love everybody who's in it. Mm-hmm. It's old Hollywood, like all of that. And I was like hyped. And then I watched the first like hour and I was like, I don't want to finish this movie. Like I was, and I honestly, I was already so checked out. I thought it was so boring. And then it took me like 3 more times to get all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I don't have a lot to say about it because I get
it. Okay, so then there's some standouts within that movie. Number one, I think it's really important to note that I don't think it's the original like team David Fincher would work with. I from my research going in, because if you ever watch a movie with me, there's a 90% chance I always have IMDb open just because I have questions and that's how I take in content. And so, you like David Fincher, I believe, and fans correct me if I'm wrong on the comments, whatever you do. I believe David Fincher had his father wrote that screenplay and he just adapted it. So I think it was a love letter to his father. And then I don't know, are you familiar with Citizen Kane at all? Like any of that?
No, not really.
Okay, it's heralded as the greatest movie of all time, or at least that's what your film teacher will tell you it is.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that that's how a lot of people refer to it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know much.
I have it on DVD. I've seen it like once because I felt like I was supposed to, and then again, it was not very gripping. I've heard of Rosebud and da 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 da. So it was the Orson Welles story, and like I guess my number one question about that movie to you would be like, how did you feel about Gary Oldman's performance? Was it mesmerizing? Was it meh? Did it fall flat for you? It's
okay. So that's the thing. When you have somebody like Gary Oldman, who I'm almost positive he's won before, right? He's
at least a best.
He's definitely been nominated.
No, he's definitely best.
But I'm
actor.
almost positive he's won something. But I just don't think that I've ever seen him be bad, like ever, and not even like oh yeah, he's like a good actor. I mean, like he's one of the great actors, and so I wasn't blown away with his performance only because he has set the bar so high for himself throughout his entire career that like this was a great performance, but it was like every other performance from him, which is great. And so it didn't stick out to me to be anything, especially then once I kept watching and then like I was looking at the list of best people who are up for best actor, and like there's 2 people who I just think if I could rip the Oscar in half and split it between these 2, I would.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And he's not one of them.
Yeah, and that's okay. You know. Also, like even if these movies aren't our favorite movies, then they're good. I just looked it up because the power of technology. Yeah. He won for best performance of an actor in a leading role, and he won that for Darkest Hour, playing Winston Churchill.
Oh, I knew that.
Well, you know, I'm sure you knew, but he also has 2 other nominees. Anyways, there we go. And so, okay, Hannah, there's Mank.
There's Mank. There's not a lot to say about that one.
I feel like this film's also pretty self-explanatory.
David Fincher is nominated, though.
Good. All right. And if he hasn't had, you know, in some ways, too, you look at someone's footprint on the industry, and it's like, whether or not this film is the film that you think they should be deserved to win, like the best actor, it's like hearsay, because if he doesn't have one by now, and maybe we'll look that up later.
Well, that's the thing too, is I guess I'm not like knowledgeable enough in like what qualifies somebody to be nominated for best director, or just like what makes a good director. But in my opinion, if David Fincher was gonna win best director, I don't know that I think this is the one.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, like sometimes, because I don't know and I'd have to look at the year, but I don't know if Leo's best performance that he's ever given was in The Revenant, but that's
Definitely
what
not.
won him the Oscar
Right.
for. And so it's like, I think sometimes those surrounding factors are relevant in the decision. And so
True.
if this is that for him, so be it.
Right.
I think he has had that coming for a long time anyways.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so next, what's your number 7 pick?
Okay, number 7 is Promising Young Woman.
Wait, oh my gosh, I'm actually, after Hannah telling me about Promising Young Woman,
Did you think that was going to be my last one?
hearing it as number 7 and not number 8, I'm surprised.
I wanted it to be number 8, and then I realized if I could barely finish Mank, but I had no problem finishing Promising Woman in one sitting, I feel like I have to put the latter on, or I have to put the first one as my, I don't, and then I listened to a podcast with Alison Brie, who's in Promising Young Woman, and I listened to her talk about the movie, and she was talking to Justin Long about it, and that's one of my favorite podcasts right now.
What's it called?
Life is Short with Justin Long.
All right, go check that
It's
out.
fabulous. But they were talking about the movie, and listening to her talk about it and them talk about it and them kind of pick up on things that I probably missed because I was like, I really hate this, and I was already like, I didn't like it pretty quickly in, and so I probably wasn't doing my best to keep like a open mind during the rest of the movie. So they would say certain things, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I guess that's true. Basically, the issue that I had with the movie is I felt like the whole thing was just like too hateful for me. Like, it's kind of a revenge story, but it's not her revenge. She's like getting revenge on her friend's behalf, but the way that they go about it is just, I didn't love the way that they portrayed men in it. I didn't like the way they portrayed that, like what she was doing and why it was okay. And then when I listened to the podcast and she kind of brought up some other stuff, and I was like, well, okay, maybe I missed it a little bit.
That's not your fault either. I feel like rose-colored lenses are a thing, and like to appreciate something after the fact, and like maybe I didn't understand, like, 90. That's why I have to watch all of the Falcon Winter Soldier, Invincible episodes, and whatever it be 2 times over, because I'll miss stuff, and then I'm like, oh, when I catch it, it makes it that much more special. So I'm like Age of Ultron, objectively, when we watched it, wasn't good. Post WandaVision and like other factors, it gets better. And so
I just rewatched it like 2 weeks ago, and I liked it a lot more.
Yeah, if this interview is the thing that lets you see this movie in a new light, then great.
Yeah, I definitely, even after listening to her talk, to Alison Brie talk about it, I was like, oh, it's definitely still not it's not really my like type of movie. Yeah. The other thing that I will say about it is it being nominated for Best Picture is a bit surprising to me, because I don't think that the movie really, like, as a whole, in terms of like cinematography and like style and like artistically, like, I don't think that it holds up to any of the other ones in the category. But it is also nominated for original screenplay, I believe. Original screenplay, and I could totally see it winning there, because it is a very original story that we haven't seen before, and she's also up for Best Director.
Yeah.
And I think it's her first time. I think that was her first movie directing.
A fun fact, I forget the director's name. I'll pull it up now as we're talking about it. But
Emerald Fennell.
Emerald Fennell, thank you, Hannah. She is actually, to bring it back to comic books, which I can do with probably all these movies. Yep. She has actually been now tapped to write a Zatanna movie, which is a DC Comics magician character, super cool. Really, a lot of girls can fall in love with Zatanna in a very fun, whimsical way. And so, like, this movie gave her a foothold into that, which is awesome.
I'm pretty sure she was in The Crown also. She's great. I think she's really, really genius. I just, like I said, not my type of movie.
She was in The Crown as I pulled this up.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like,
Hannah's a big Crown
I just
fan.
Finished it.
Alrighty, okay. Yeah. So I didn't see that one. Obviously, I don't have. How did you feel about Carey Mulligan's performance within that? And your dude Adam Brody was in it.
Oh yeah, that was hard.
It's not easy.
That was not easy to watch, because they make him kind of a creeper. R.I.P. to Seth Cohen, because he would never.
What?
Seth Cohen. She was good. She was fine.
Great.
She was fine.
Awesome. I think
also same. I don't think I've ever seen her be bad. So
the way I think about her and the way I think about that movie in particular would be more like like something like Get Out getting the Best Picture nomination, where
Mhm.
it just kind of reinvented a genre and made a foothold for new stories to be told like that. Rose-colored lenses are a thing because after getting more context into that material, I think that helped overall my appreciation for that film, and then it earned its place there.
For Get Out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about Promising Young Woman, which I did like, is it did kind of it made me kind of double check my biases. Like, it made me kind of rethink, like, well, am I one of those people who doesn't give the victim as much as they deserve? Like, I kind of thought, well, like, because basically, I think everybody knows, but the premise of the movie is that Carey Mulligan's best friend went to a party when they were in college, and she got really, 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 really drunk, and she was like sloppy, like flirting with the guys, and then she ends up getting, they don't really give a ton of alluding to the fact that she essentially gets like gang raped by all these men at the party, and then she gets super depressed from that, and she commits suicide. And so the whole movie is Carey Mulligan pretending to be drunk so that guys take her home because they think that she is unable to say no.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I'm not actually drunk. And then all this stuff. But then it gets really, really, really gnarly. Like, she gets so obsessed with her revenge that it gets really gnarly at the end. And it made me like, it just made me rethink like the way I think of those situations. Like, it made me think like, wait a second, did I not like the movie because I was feeling bad for these guys? Like, I just had to like make sure that I was seeing the girl, who's not even in the story at all, that she's the one who's like, what this whole thing is about.
Yeah.
So I do like when movies make me check myself.
Yeah, and and I think that's the tale of a successful narrative. You know what I mean? If the goal was to reassess your biases, it made you do that, and that's awesome. So good for you also though for knowing, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes we just know we're not the target audience for a product, and like,
Yeah,
if that's,
I don't think I am for that one.
And that's okay, and you assess that, but also, you know, I think there's merit in understanding though, like, why this narrative was successful, and I think you did that too, which is very respectable. Okay, on to the next, number 6.
On to the next. Okay, so here's the thing: 4, 5, and 6. I put them in an order, but they're kind of interchangeable. I don't know. Like, I don't know that I feel like number 6 is definitely worse than 5 or 4. But I have Nomadland as 6.
Okay.
Because I don't know why, actually. Now
I didn't think about that.
that I'm going to explain it.
Well, okay.
I was kind of bored, but it was beautiful. But I was also like, can we wrap this up? But I was also, like, is anything going to happen? No, nothing's going to happen. Okay, well, I thank God it's Frances McDormand, because I could watch her time and time and time again and never be over it. So at least I got to do that.
Okay, and actually, I think this is our window where we need to declare another love that we have. So it's been abundantly clear amongst everyone that we are Sam Rockwell fiends.
Oh, yeah. I was like, wait, where are we going
But
with this?
Hannah and I have now taken a new stance, and that is pretty much anything Frances McDormand is in is wonderful
Solid
as well.
gold. Yep.
It's solid gold.
Yep.
We think
Yep.
that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Probably won't.
I'd argue greatest living actress. She's my favorite to watch.
Yes. Yep.
At least when it comes to legacy, when it comes to repertoire, everything she's done. And I know people are yelling in the comments, whatever, yelling at their iPhones as they're driving.
Meryl Streep.
We understand that Meryl Streep is an option, and again, we say,
And we still are putting
Frances
Frances
McDormand.
Not to take away,
Of course,
from the greatness that is Meryl Streep.
we recognize that, but it's also kind of fun to have a favorite, and that's why we're even doing this. So, okay, wait. So, what
did see.
I did see
You
Nomadland.
did see Nomadland, yeah.
Yeah, no, if I was to have a least favorite one, this would probably be where Nomadland would go.
But it's not that it wasn't like a bad movie. Like, I didn't end it thinking, I didn't like it. I just was like, okay.
Yeah,
That
same.
was pretty.
Same. It was pretty. It was cool. It was a very like
The directing was beautiful. Cinematography was beautiful.
Yeah. It was a very beautiful movie, and especially taking something so mundane and making it beautiful was, it's a unique challenge, and the way that they depicted the lives of these nomads.
Yep.
And I guess for the people who need an explanation, it's a movie about modern nomads, seeking work but then living out of their cars. Very much. It's not like homelessness though. It's just they live in their cars and they go places and travel and live life in different areas. They're not the most glamorous areas. It's not New York City. It's not like all these things. It's like, middle America, and that exploration and common bond that they have with, one another through this lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
I liked the way that they showed middle America though. Very beautiful and open and full of life and character, and I liked that because nothing really, I don't think, especially in the film, like things don't take place in middle America too often, and her working at like an Amazon factory and working all these weird jobs that she was doing, that was cool.
I liked it, and I like, for me, the crux of that narrative was like her not it was like her embracing middle America and like rejecting, because she had some trauma in her life, and so she didn't want a family structure. She didn't want to be stagnant or still, because I think that would make her reflect upon a loss that she had. And so understanding where she's coming from through the narrative portraying that was very interesting, and I think that was one of the biggest strengths of that movie.
I mean, did you feel like at the end, like when they kind of show her go back to the house and like the storage unit, like I kind of got the vibe that was like this whole film is just to show the way that she is not dealing with her grief. It was like her becoming a nomad was really like an avoiding of what happened.
Yes.
Or was that how she was coping?
I think that's how she was coping. I don't know. It was I don't understand. Like, I wouldn't say, you and I talked about that after the movie, and it was like, I think that was just like, there was no plot. It didn't feel like
really
there was.
Wasn't really. It was just kind of like a story.
And that's why it was a little out for us, maybe a little too arty for us, but you know, whatever. We watched it and it's on here. So and big shout out to Chloe Zhao, who is the first Asian American woman to be nominated for Best Director.
And she did a wonderful job.
Yeah, what a triumph! Like we are looking at a year with 2 women as Best Director nominations. That's amazing. Okay? So and Best Picture for that matter. So
yeah.
Anyways, okay,
and both really great stories in there. Both of them. Well, no, that's not true. Nomadland, I think, was a book because it's an adapted screenplay, so it's not original. But I would say either one of them could be. They're great stories, I guess is what I was trying to say. But now that we're doing this ranking, I'm realizing like 6, that was a strong 6 for me. Like that definitely goes in the 6th spot because I'm actually really more torn between 4 and 5. And I'm even more so torn between 2 and 3.
There's about 3 options for, so basically everything after this is also number 2. It's also easy to place their rankings when, once the rankings are placed. So after you're like, I don't know about 6 or 5 or 4 or 2 and 3, but I'm like, once we have a solid 6, now you only have to choose.
I'm pretty sure that 8, 7, 6, 5, and 4, I feel really good about where I put them. Okay, it's 3 and 2 that I'm a little bit stuck on.
What are we on? I think we're on number 5 right now?
Yep, we're on number 5, which is Minari.
Wow. Okay. I'm shocked because I haven't seen the other stuff, but I did watch Minari with you.
You did watch Minari with me, yeah.
Yeah, because Hannah didn't want to pay full price. And also I was like, at that point.
You didn't either.
At that point, I was like, oh, I don't.
And that was when you were still.
Yeah.
In your mind, you were going to do all of them.
Yeah, I was going to like crush 3 movies in 2 days.
So I was trying to be like resourceful and save us both an extra 10, but you just threw me under the bus live.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm like, I call it like I see it. Yeah, hey, Hannah, no matter what, you're still better than me because I didn't even watch all these. So
I know, but you make it sound like I was cheap, which I am, so it's okay.
Anyways, it's called living on the budget. Okay, so Minari here. Oh my gosh, what a great year for Asian American, like the Asian American community within film, because we have Chloe Zhao, we have now we have Stephen Yoon, who is And to
deserves his time.
And to tie it back to comic books, baby, the voice of Will Grayson Invincible, Stephen Yeun, he's having an excellent year.
You can tie it back to comics before that.
Yeah, I know, but they're both Kirkman properties, and one is modern, and one the fans should also be watching. By the time this is released, the season finale will be on Friday, so there's time to catch up. It's only 7 episodes to watch until...
But he's got comic book roots.
He kind of, yeah, but almost like...
What, you don't count The Walking Dead?
I count it, but I'm like, that's a little obvious, and the other one that's currently coming out is a little less obvious, and it's closer to my heart, because I'm not a Walking Dead guy as much as I am an Invincible guy. So.
True, but I watched the first 5 seasons of The Walking Dead, so that's where I remembered him and loved him. Actually, I think I stopped watching it when he died. I would say that's a spoiler, but that was almost 6 years ago, so it's fine.
And it broke the internet, so it's old
That's
news.
true.
Okay.
I think that was the last time I stopped watching it. But okay, so I put Minari at 5 because I was not as hooked watching this as I was with the last 4 that I have.
Great.
Meaning when there's a part in the middle where I'm kind of all right, where are we going? Is anything gonna happen? Can we kind of just end it maybe?
Yeah.
And now I'm getting kind of sleepy. Okay, I guess I should go get some chocolate so I stay awake a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That's why I put it where I did. But I love how many movies are an original screenplay, because there was a long period of time I felt where movies were coming out and there were no new stories.
Yeah.
Everything was something we had seen before, or it was a remake or an adaptation or a take on this or a twist on this, and now it's all these original stories.
I think you're right.
And we don't see, I don't want to say that these aren't out there, because I'm sure they are, and I just haven't done a good job at trying to find these types of films. But a story of Asian Americans, or for them, they were very much, they had just moved here, didn't they? The parents?
They moved from California to... They moved somewhere in the Midwest.
Also into the Midwest, yeah. But you don't see, like I said, that's probably on me, because I'm sure that there are a lot of those stories out there. I just haven't spent a lot of time seeing them, but I did really enjoy seeing a movie with a full Asian cast and how their life. I thought it was great. And I have to say this, because part of why I put it higher than Nomadland, it was the grandma and the little boy. Yeah. Really make the whole freaking film so good. And I'm gonna butcher the crap out of her name, but the grandma, whose name is Yoo Jung Yoon, maybe?
You're trying your best, and they can appreciate that. The grandmother character in this film, that's fine.
Okay. She's up for Best Supporting Actress. And I would just die to see her win. I want her to win more than anything.
Narratively, easily my favorite character of all the films I watched, my favorite supporting actress character, absolutely hands down. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
And I went through the list of who's up for supporting actress, and I'm like, no. It has to be her. It has to be her.
She's amazing, and that was my. I pulled on the cord. I found she's so endearing and
so endearing.
It flips
and hilarious.
She flips this narrative, you know what I mean, of long story short, I just think she was my favorite character in the film, and I love Stephen Yeun, and I hope he's successful. I just don't understand why I don't think he's going to win Best Actor.
I don't think so either.
Based on the other things that I saw, I don't think he quite should. But that's just my opinion, and I hope all the success for him. Obviously,
right? Because I love him, and I think he did great.
I didn't think he did a bad job at all, but I don't know.
But I also didn't really like the characters in that movie in particular. I loved. Like I said, I loved the grandma and I loved the little boy, and the parents I didn't really like. I didn't feel connected, or I didn't resonate with them. I was kind of can you guys work your shit out? I was a little bit more I believed in his dream for sure, but I don't know. It just wasn't my...
It wasn't...
the grandma was just so encompassing.
Want to know why we liked it, or we wanted to like it more, is because we wanted it to be this way more touching family story.
Yeah, we had false expectations.
We wanted them to rise above the ranks, and that isn't quite what happened. It isn't. I didn't leave that movie feeling so wholesome and wonderful. that being said, I just think that, like they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, like maybe that was depicting more of a reality for those people. And I think also too, with all the narrative arcs, I think that one was one of the most sound films I saw, with every arc and every character being given their due, which is what was very satisfying in that. And it also makes you question the American dream and that sounds so cliche, like, oh my gosh, I'm a freshman in the psychology class or whatever, philosophy, but I'm like, it does make you question it, and what we are really seeking after, and like what we stand to gain by looking at what is around us and in our own familial circumstances. And I think that's what the strength is within this movie. So
what I really liked too was how they kind of show the family, like, and they want to be successful in like the American standard way. And then when they show the family going to church, and they show the kids that are growing up that are like the white kids from that area. Yeah. They're like significantly worse kids than these ones. Like they're insensitive, and they're ignorant, and they're friendly,
and that's not to say that these, like, I don't know, like that is a representation of that area. You know what I mean?
No. Of course, I just think like the juxtaposition of like them chasing this dream, and then those people kind of representing what they're chasing, and then when you watch it objectively, you're like, I like the other kids better. Yeah. And then, I mean, we didn't even talk about Coach Boone from Remember the Titans.
We were watching the movie, and like I didn't even know poor actor, we don't even know his name, but he's
I know, sorry.
He's in it, and I midway through, because I knew Hannah like loved this movie, she was like I was like, Hannah, that's the coach from friggin' I Remember the Titans, which is like right up her alley. And so she's like, no. And then
and I was like, no way. And then as soon as you pointed it out, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so obvious the way he talks and his eyes. Like, it's totally him. It just.
Actor's name is Will Patton. I just looked that up. Yeah, so it's good.
What a guy.
It was a good.
I love that he'll be at the Oscars.
Yeah, and it's A24, and I love. Yeah. I'm a sucker. I'm a simp for A24. So obviously,
because everything they do is perfect.
It's beautiful, and look at their freaking like.
Their portfolio is.
Thank you.
10 out of 10.
I'm like, they
haven't had a bad one.
Spring Breakers is pretty bad, but that was an early miss.
No.
I tried to watch that over quarantine at the very beginning, and I'm like, maybe this is better than I remember, because I'm like, I love A24. Try to watch it.
Definitely not better, but it's also like, I wouldn't call it a bad one. I just talked to Jess about it today, actually.
That's funny, because I remember walking away from that, and I was like, that was unwatchable.
Yeah, it's garbage.
But it's also absolutely terrible. It's a different kind of narrative that I'm not the target audience for, and that's the theme of the. It is like, maybe that's why it's not that bad. And I'm like, oh my god.
Spring break.
Anyways, I'm not going to. Okay, so what's your number 4?
Number 4, Judas and the Black Messiah.
Okay, that's a fair one. This is actually a unique one, because I made it through 5.5 of the Oscar noms. Judas and the Black Messiah,
which blew my mind. It's still actually hard for me to like fathom the fact that you started that movie and you didn't finish it, because in my head it's everything you would want to see in a movie.
Yeah, and like
I meant you, very specific to you, Cameron.
Yeah, I believe you, and I'm just kind of like, okay.
I know I've been saying that this whole time, and you've been like, please stop.
I was not. No, it's fine. I'm like, I remember I just watched it. I started it, and it was on HBO Max for free, and everyone's like, oh, it's so hype, and it's not Spike Lee, but it's kind of the modern Spike Lee, and I'm like, okay, I should really like this. I love Daniel Kaluuya, Lakeith Stanfield, they're powerhouses. I thought Daniel Kaluuya is just kind of chameleoned into the role that he was playing, and I was like, oh, you're so cool, because you look at Get Out, you look at that, you look at Black Panther. Those are 3 very different performances, and so to just kind of see, and those are off the top of my head, the body of work. I'm sure he has way more expansive of a library, but I was very impressed by him, and that's about as much as I have to say. But I wasn't paying attention when I was watching it, and that's not fair to the movie. So then I stopped, and then it only had like one more day left on HBO Max, and I was like, I won't watch it. And then the next day, the day it was off HBO Max, it was like, okay, here's the Best Picture noms, and Judas and the Black Messiah is one of them.
Yeah, I really loved it. I thought it was cool. I think that the only thing, to be honest, Well, actually, I wasn't super familiar with the story. So it was cool to like have more insight to it. But the only thing that I think is like really worth talking about, if I'm being honest, is the acting.
Great.
Was like,
because I took that in, at least for the most part.
It was really, really, really good. And I think that I think he was really good in Get Out. And then everything else, I think he was like good.
Okay.
And then in this one, I was like, what the fuck?
Like he was next level? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, you've been hiding that skill?
Well, some roles call for more.
I know,
than
and that role very much did, and he like freaking home run the crap out of it.
Awesome.
It was so good. And then was it Lakeith? What's his last name?
Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah, like both of them just phenomenal, and them together. I mean, it was like, yeah, the acting was perfect.
If I was
perfect for
the fans, okay, obviously to tie back to comics, I think Daniel Kaluuya could make a wonderful. He's made. Oh my gosh, he's in Black Panther. We know that.
Yep.
I forget his name though, but in I like Keith Stanfield in my head would be the perfect Professor X for the X-Men. That's just me like wishing something into existence, but whatever it be.
That'd be cool.
So yeah, I liked it. I literally my only note for that movie just says Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield. So
yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah, that's.
And so you're still confident in that rating for solely the acting?
I am very confident. Yes.
Okay, great. I'm like in that place. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, because again, the reason it's above Minari is really just that I was really into the whole film. Like there was never a moment where I was like kind of bored or like it didn't slow down, and I like the whole thing. It was really like entrancing. So that's why it's higher.
You have a very respectable scale. I want to make that clear.
So much.
Okay, so next.
Oh, this is where it gets really tough.
We're in top 3 territory now?
We're in top 3.
So what are your top 3? There's only 3 options. So.
Okay, so my list as of right now that I wrote last night.
Oh my gosh.
I have The Father at number 3.
Okay.
However, upon all day of thinking,
okay, well,
it might be number 2.
Okay, well then, what's your number 3? I'm like, they're not going to take a vote.
I know. I just want it to be known that I'm really conflicted here, and I don't necessarily think one is better or worse than the other. But Trial of the Chicago 7 is number 3.
I am shocked.
I know.
I am absolutely
That being said,
shocked.
I haven't watched that movie for probably 4 months.
Is this okay? You said you found only one of these movies rewatchable. So Trial of Chicago 7 is not the one that's rewatchable?
Okay, 2 are rewatchable. Trial of the Chicago 7 is one of them.
Okay,
you know what? That's completely not true, because you could totally watch Judas and the Black Messiah twice.
I could. You couldn't,
because you couldn't even watch it the first time. But I feel like if it was on again, I'd be like, okay, I guess I'll watch it again. Sure.
I am having a hard time following you right now. You can see, everyone can like just hear the. We're all processing it with her. And no matter what, like, hey, I think that anyone who wants to critique you right now, it's like they better have already seen all of the Oscar noms.
You can critique me. It's okay.
Because if they didn't and they have an opinion on your ranking, I'm like, she got through them.
Okay. No, I'm just going to like commit. Number 3, Trial of the Chicago 7. However, it's a fucking perfect film. Oops, sorry. I didn't mean to say the F word.
You've already said it once.
I did?
Yes.
Shoot.
Oh, now we're going back. I don't know if my kids who are listening to this heard, but she said shoot. And I don't know if you recall any of your going over the plot of Promising Young Woman. That might as well have been a cuss word. I mean, the whole plot.
Gang rape?
Okay. Shoot, Hannah. You should not. It's all right. This episode's getting the explicit tag anyways. No thanks to you.
I really cleaned it up since our first one, and then I just got really bad right now. Okay, Trial of the Chicago 7 is one of Cameron's favorite movies.
That is, and for the fans that may have already listened to our Best of the Year episode, this is my number 1 of any of these movies.
Yeah. which, yeah, I knew that. I knew that was going to stay your number one.
Yeah, well,
I mean, from what you, because anything that you hadn't seen, I didn't imagine that it would become your number one. So I feel like I always knew that this was going to be your number one. I don't have anything bad to say about it.
No.
And there's no reason for it to be ranked at number 3, if I'm being honest.
But that's, yes, because you saw 2 movies that you liked more. That is a good enough reason for this one to be number 3.
Loved Chicago 7. I loved the acting. I loved the story. The cast was so freaking phenomenal, like so phenomenal, and they all did such a good job.
Yeah.
And like, it was great.
Cool.
I could rave about it.
You know,
which is why it hurts me.
It's okay.
Well,
you're gonna go talk. Honestly, also, you and I have gone at length about this movie. I think for me, we talked about it kind of the way I think about this movie is kind of just like the way I think about Run the Jewels 4.
Timely.
Yeah, it was just so timely. It was so perfect. All-star cast. It hit you. It was such a product of the year that it came out.
That's true.
And those things are not to be overlooked. I think that Aaron Sorkin is just royalty, in my opinion. And like, he already has a bunch of Oscars, and so he deserves more. This is just wonderful. And so I think that this is definitely my number one.
Yeah. And you're not wrong. I'm sorry. I was just trying to look up because I'm spacing on what Jeremy Strong is in Succession, and he is also in this movie. And a lot of people, I think he's starting to become more well known because he's been in a few movies. But I love seeing him on screen.
Great.
Absolutely love it.
I don't know who Jeremy Strong is, but cool.
He's the guy who plays the other hippie with Sacha Baron Cohen.
Oh, okay, yeah, and that's my number one actor in this series we're doing. Number one actor, best actor nomination.
Is he nominated for best actor?
It's either that or best supporting, and he should win both because it's an ensemble cast. But
he is not up for best actor.
Is he best supporting then?
It's gonna do that buzzing thing if I pull my phone out again.
Yeah, I got it on my iPad.
Okay.
If you're hearing buzzing,
it was like my phone was.
That's what I realized. Well, that happened the other day too. So don't worry about it. It's
okay.
It happens all the time.
Okay. Okay, so should we just go to number 2?
Yeah, I think I know what it is.
Oh, surprise! It's
and
The
then
Father.
I think I know what your number 1 is. Okay, The Father is your number 2. Okay, this is one I didn't see.
I watched it last night, so it's fresh.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Oh my gosh, just unexpected twist and turn at every scene. I think, when you go into a movie with like relatively zero expectations, because it didn't look that, I hadn't even heard of it until this came out. I didn't even know this movie existed. I haven't given Anthony Hopkins a chance to redeem himself because I was so scarred from Silence of the Lambs when I was a kid. So and Olivia Colman's great because she plays the Queen and The Crown.
So obviously that affects this score.
Well, I just saw her and I thought, oh, okay. But I was really putting it off because I just have no interest in watching it. I feel like I had to get into it. And then I put it on and I was like, what in the actual F is going on? Like this whole time, I had no idea. I was like, who's that? What's that? Was he crazy or is she crazy? Is she a villain? No, she can't be a villain. Well, then he's the villain. Well, no, there's no villain. Well, maybe they're all villains. Like that was the whole movie. And then it was also like the directing, I would say, I think that director's name is Florian Zeller. And I think he got mad snubbed because he was not nominated for Best Director and he 100% deserved to have been.
Wow. Okay.
It was great. The directing was I loved it.
Yeah.
And then the movie, it just like when everything comes together, it's so sad.
Wow.
So sad.
That's so funny.
And it makes you think about life in a very like, man, we're all going to get old type of way.
Yeah.
Which we all know. But it sucks.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, you sound really affected. And you were like, wow. I remember you were coming to me in the last couple of days because I was like, don't tell me rating. And then you're like, like, ooh, this one's actually really good. I'm surprised by this one. And I'm like, okay, like, cool, but don't tell me your rating. And I'm so surprised to hear this one so high up. But it's like a pleasant surprise. And I think that this one has also been like a sleeper hit.
Oh, well, totally
on like
has.
everyone's
Yeah.
radar, because it was like, I guess it was like, tragic but also psychological thriller, and it's like, wait, what? Like, how do those balance out? It's
Yeah, you don't know if you're scared or if you're sad or if you're both.
Yeah, if it wins, I'll be
story.
really kicking myself that I didn't see it, because I think this is one of those contenders that's like,
oh yeah, it was just done so well. Like the tone of the movie was so good, and the acting was great. And there's an actor in it who, oh gosh, why did I even bring him up? Because I don't know his name, so I'm gonna make you look it up. But he is in The Holiday, but better known from the Heath Ledger classic A Knight's Tale. And he is in this movie, and I really love him in every role. He's like one of those like really, really like everybody kind of knows his face, but nobody knows any idea who he is. And I loved him, and I was so happy to see him in the film. But
Mark Gatiss? Oh, Rufus Sewell.
Rufus Sewell. That's
he was in Knight's Tale.
Yeah, he was. I also kind of thought, so I had seen that Anthony Hopkins was nominated for Best Actor, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, cool. He's always like, yeah, when is he ever bad? Like, kind of the same thing, like a Gary Oldman thing, where I thought like he's gonna be good because he's just always good. But
also, let's not take that for granted.
No, I know. I guess I knew based off of the type of movie it wasn't based off of the cast. I thought, okay, the acting is going to be really great.
Yeah.
But I was not prepared for the performance that Anthony Hopkins gave. It was so freaking good.
Awesome. That's
great
news.
It was so good. I was like, oh my God.
And to tie that into comic books, he plays Odin, Thor's dad. So.
Yep. Which is the only time I've been able to watch him and not think of Silence of the Lambs, because he's not super noticeable in that movie.
Okay, so and now Hannah, your number one movie, and I probably have 2 or 3 more.
You've
questions.
seen this one.
I know. I know. There's only one we haven't talked about. So Hannah's gonna come into back pocket and just be like, number 1, Avengers Endgame, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, that wasn't an option, but okay. So your number 1 movie, Sound of Metal.
Yeah, hold on really quickly about The Father. If it doesn't win Best Picture, but it wins Adapted Screenplay, I would be just as happy.
Okay, well.
That's it.
They're glad to know that you'd be just as happy.
This is about me.
They're like, okay, like, oh, they're like, oh, we didn't win Best Picture, but we won Best Adapted Screenplay. Looks at Hannah, and Hannah just nods and gives a thumbs up.
Yep, my finger gun maybe.
She's like, it's okay. Yeah, for those that didn't just see, Hannah shot me with a finger gun.
In case he didn't know what a finger gun was when
like,
I said it.
Someone's pro 2A. I get it. So, okay, Sound of Metal.
Ugh.
How are we feeling? I'm sure the audience is starting to realize that I watched a lot of the ones that were just accessible to me. Like No Bad Land was on Hulu. The half of Judas and the Black Messiah was on HBO Max. Sound of Metal's on Prime. Like and then there's a Trial of Chicago 7's on Netflix. Like I was trying to catch them, but.
And I have been consistently surprised that Sound of Metal wasn't higher on your list, because, oh gosh, it was perfect.
Really,
yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into that. So, two actors that I really love that were in this. Number 1, well, there's the main 2, Riz Ahmed and Olivia Cooke.
Mm-hmm. I really hope that he wins Best Actor.
Really? Okay.
But if it went to Anthony Hopkins, also okay by me.
What if it goes to like a dark horse? Like, I don't know who else is nominated. Stephen Yeun, you're still okay?
Yeah, he's cute. It's fine.
She shrugged. What, Daniel Kaluuya? Is he Best Actor nom?
I don't think
Must be.
I think he's best. I don't think
Supporting?
he is.
Is like Keith Stanfield I don't know.
No, none of them are. But Chadwick Boseman is.
For Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Yep.
Okay, so how are we feeling about Riz Ahmed and his performance? And like, I think this movie is very specific to like, it's a niche film. I think that it's very much. Is this A24?
No, I don't think so.
It feels it gives me that vibe.
Yeah.
It's okay. So for those who want to know, the writers, and this is what stuck out to me, and it made so much more sense, or at least story credit, is Derek Cianfrance.
Yep.
He's done Blue Valentine. He did Place Beyond the Pines, and so then watching the movie, seeing his name on the credits as story
makes so much sense.
I was like, oh, this definitely, it all clicks for me. Mm-hmm. But this isn't my favorite movie he did. I think if I was to rank them, I think this might be number 2.
Because Place Beyond the Pines is number 1 still.
No, I mean of the Oscar noms. I think this is number 2.
Oh, sorry.
Because I think a feat in sound editing. I think narratively, it's the classic. Like we want to be together so much, but we're so we shouldn't be together. And I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, but you've been warned. And actually, we've done a great job of dodging spoilers. But
That's true.
they're like they realize
Except
they
for the
can't
spoiler
be.
I gave about Glenn getting
That's
killed off.
No, it's
Just
6 years old.
kidding.
So,
Okay, but I don't think that is the whole film,
okay, well,
which is why I like it so much.
lay it on me.
It's so complex, and there's so many moments and so many different storylines that but they're all really beautiful and they're all super tragic, but they're not tragic in the way where it ends and you're like, it's not like Blue Valentine where it doesn't end and I'm like depressed for 2 weeks afterwards. It ended and you're really like he found his peace and he found his stillness even as he was like doing everything he could to fight it, to find what he thought would be his peace and what he thought would be his stillness. And then it turns out that just like fully being accepting of like his situation and who he is now and like the growth of him and the girl, it's like that was his. And the guy he's up for best supporting actor, the
Father,
no, the coach, the like deaf, like the
Joe. Paul Raci. I think it's RACI. That's how it's spelled on that.
Yeah. How he had always said, like, you have to find your stillness and your peace. And like he was, and like the way that they look at the way that people look at other people in the deaf community trying to get their hearing fixed, how they don't look highly upon that they don't want you to look at your deafness as a handicap. They don't want you to look at it as a flaw or as something that needs to be fixed. They want you to like accept it fully. And he's so like resistant towards that.
Yeah.
And then you find out like this whole story of addiction and how that plays into it. I cannot say more wonderful things about it. And I like when a movie is like, I like when it's sad, not sad because I didn't think it was sad. But I like when you look at it and you're like, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it was so beautifully done and you leave feeling just like very sentimental and very like not like I said, not like Blue Valentine. So I never was depressed, but I was definitely like crying and I was definitely like, heartbroken for their characters, but they're not heartbroken.
Yeah.
But they are, but they're not.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. Like I think the way you put it, I couldn't put it better than that. Because they do find their peace, and I think that the idea of community that is portrayed through this film is also incredibly impressive.
Mm-hmm.
That is a feat within itself, and so I wouldn't want to overlook that.
Yeah.
Olivia Cooke was so great, and like all of the people in the deaf community was amazing, and so I really appreciated that, and I wanted to make that abundantly clear.
Yeah.
So okay, well, Hannah. Last 2 questions. Number 1, what do you think is gonna win? Which one do you think of these is gonna? I think an easy choice would be Trial of the Chicago 7, just because it's a star-studded cast, Aaron Sorkin. That's easy to put in. What do you think it? Do you think it's The Father? Do you think there's a dark horse in there that's gonna win?
I don't think Trial of the Chicago 7 will win.
I want it to win, but
I do too. Not as bad as I want Sound of Metal to win. I don't think Sound of Metal will either. I think that Nomadland is probably, if I had to go off of what I've read and what I've seen and what I know, tends to win Best Picture. Like I know what like the who is it that decides? Hollywood Foreign Press? Is that who it is?
The Academy.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know what I was thinking of.
You're not. I don't think.
I think they do like the Golden Globes or something
you're
like that.
You're not far
off. I think that what they tend to pick is like nomad-esque movies.
Oh, really? Okay. I think it's gonna be Minari.
But I was gonna say, due to today's political climate, I could see them going with a movie that's gonna be more not appropriate, but fitting maybe.
Socially.
So yeah, socially.
But also if you look at their history, that hasn't been the case. And
No,
so
I know, but that's why I'm like, maybe.
they're trying to do some course
Yeah.
correction.
Yep.
But
I mean, again, I don't think that any of these, like to what we were saying about how last year's were better picks. I enjoyed the movies last year better, but I don't think that makes any of these movies bad or not deserving of being there.
Of course.
So I think that I would say there's probably going to be Nomadland. However, I could definitely see The Father coming in and doing like a little
Anthony Hopkins is like
taking everybody by storm and kind of being like, oh,
yeah.
because that was a really good movie.
What if they said La La Land just like that one year?
Oh,
Oh, brutal. When it was Moonlight.
Brutal.
Entirely different tone change of the evening.
That was hard to watch.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so then my last question would be, do you have any movies that you were snubbed this year? Because I have one that I must mention.
No, and I was trying to think of that because you told me that was going to be an option, or like that was a question you were going to ask me, and I couldn't think of anything that I had seen that I thought deserved to be there. I mean, I'd seen good movies that have come out in 2020, but nothing that I was like more deserving.
My number one is Devil All the Time, and I think that movie was absolutely excellent. Robert Pattinson, like, that didn't get nominated for any. I'm like, not a best actor, not a supporting. I'm like, why didn't Robert Pattinson not get nominated for best supporting is above my pay grade. Narratively, it's based on a book, but narratively, it's so beautiful, so mesmerizing and terrifying at the same time. Love it. Loved that movie. Tom Holland just showing us again and again that he's like, yes, he's our Spider-Man, but he's also
more than Spider-Man.
He has chops, man. And that's what Riz Ahmed did for me in this movie, which he just showed
What
us.
did you know him from before?
Venom. To tie it back to comics.
Oh, okay. Because I hadn't seen him in anything. I didn't know.
I think he's been.
He looked familiar because he's in one of those HBO shows, but I didn't ever watch it.
Yeah, he was in Venom, and he was like the bad guy in Venom, and that wasn't very memorable.
There we go. That makes sense then.
But like again, like I'm glad we have an opportunity for him like this, where it just shows. And I think that was always the talk about him. It's like, oh man, he's a big deal, and I'm like, oh, now I see why he's a big deal, and and I applaud everyone's performances in these movies. So whether or not I saw them,
so I think I made it through 10 minutes of Devil All the Time.
You really did. Oh my gosh,
because it was so creepy.
That's so dark, and that's not you. Oh well, okay, Hannah. Those are my last two questions. Thank you so much for coming on this Camera Reads
Thanks
Comics.
for having me and let me talk about
annual
Oscar pictures on your comic book podcast.
Maybe one day. Yeah, no.
Appreciate it.
This is a freaking pop culture podcast, and everyone knows because I'm like, I feel like I'm even phasing out of it helps my life too to not just do solely comic stuff. You know what I mean? I'm doing a bunch of stuff. Like I take in the pop culture content and I love it, but it's also comics are at the core, and we're always going to have a place to talk about that. But that's why we sprinkle in these annuals where we can talk about outside stuff. That's why we do best of the year, because there's a lot of content we take in the year. And so this is 2020. Anyways, thank you, Hannah. Oh, maybe Tenet, but I didn't see it either. First night.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
My Chris Nolan, you're doing great, buddy. Like, proud of you.
Yeah, but I didn't hear that many good things about it, so
I feel like it's one of those ones. Well, not a lot of people saw it. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was a terrible note. By the way, like this movie existed this year, and I didn't even mention it. Okay, so Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the Camera Reads Comics podcast. We will see you next time. You're actually going to be on this Wednesday.
On soon. Yeah.
You're going to be on this Wednesday for Falcon Winter Soldier series review. Make sure to tune in and check that out. We will talk to you guys later.
Jesse will be here still too.
Jesse will be there too.
Yeah, it's not just me.
First
just
episode.
Wanted everybody to know. Hey, Jesse will be back.
3 listeners, so it'll be fun. Anyways, sayonara.
Bye.